What is up, Mizzou fans? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of ShowMeFootball.com, covering your Missouri Tigers, and we just got a massive update on Mizzou defensive end Williams Nwaneri. Obviously, you guys know he was a five-star recruit, number one defensive end in the nation just a year ago when Mizzou signed him. But today, Hayes Fawcett on Twitter is reporting that Missouri true freshman edge Williams Nwaneri plans to enter the transfer portal. He tells On3 Sports the 6'6", 265 edge will have all 4 years of eligibility remaining and was, of course, ranked as a five-star plus recruit in the 2024 class. Number one edge on On3 Sports. And then, of course, 24/7 Sports, Gabe DeArmond of Power Mizzou later reported that he has officially entered the transfer portal. There was a minute there where some were wondering, is he actually going to enter or something going to get done? A new deal is going to get agreed to, because that's what it is nowadays in college sports, guys. Let's be honest off the bat here. That's what happens. You can either agree to a new deal and that player will withdraw their name from the portal, or you're okay with them going out there and seeing what their market is. I mean, that's what it is, and that's exactly what happened here. And obviously, this is a big deal. It's a big deal because it was a five-star kid, and a five-star kid that you signed just a year ago. And it's never good to lose a five-star, especially a local kid, after just 1 year at the school. But I'm going to be completely honest with you guys in this video. I'm going to start with this. Williams Nwaneri retained his red shirt this year, okay? He didn't play that much. He didn't produce that much. He was always going to be a project. He was not in Mizzou's 2 deep or even 3 deep. Jalen Brown, who was a defensive end from the same recruiting class that Missouri signed, actually burned his red shirt while Williams Nwaneri retained his. He didn't play all that much. But it's safe to assume, especially based on his high school recruitment and just, common sense, that he's entering the portal because of NIL, because of money, right? At some point, if you're Eli Drinkwitz and the Mizzou football staff, you have to determine whether or not it is worth it to give Williams Nwaneri a raise after playing in just 4 games, recording 1 sack, a couple of tackles, and not really doing all that much, being one of the highest paid players on your roster to be defensive end 5 or number 6. I think one thing that people are forgetting here is that this NIL thing is a two-way street. Sure, a kid can always enter the portal because they're seeking more money, but also coaches could say, hey, we gave you all this money out of high school and we just don't feel like you're worth that, so we encourage you to enter your name into the transfer portal. There's a possibility that that is what happened here. I'm not saying that for sure, but it's a two-way street. I do think that Williams Nwaneri probably entered the portal to see what more that he can get, and he was probably tampered with, and that's just kind of how college football is. If you're good with Mizzou poaching Caden Green from Oklahoma last year, then you should have no problem with Williams Nwaneri entering the portal. That's kind of the way that I view it. I'm not going to sit here and throw a huge fit like we all did when Dominic Lovett entered the transfer portal a couple of years ago after having a really good season for Mizzou. That was a big loss. This is a big loss because of the recruit that he was and the hype that was behind him. And if he was going to be good, you were really going to reap the benefits in year 3 and year 4 if he decided to stay 4 years in college. But as of right now, looking at it, I'm not really sure he would have started next year. I'm not sure he would have been on the 2 deep next year even. I think Mizzou was going to plan to target a defensive end in the portal. Now they're probably going to bring in multiple defensive ends in the portal with Williams Nwaneri's departure. So, hey, the only way to look at this is Mizzou will replace him and we will all move on. In my opinion, where it really hurts is if he was to become a good player later on, let's say he goes to Nebraska or Oklahoma, something like that, and he becomes a starting defensive end by year 3. And then by that same year, you're having to fish for another defensive end in the portal once again. That's where it hurts, because I don't like fishing in the portal for the same positions every year. That's why high school recruiting is still important, because you need to have those guys waiting in the wings so that you're not relying on the portal to fill all these holes every single year. That said, though, Mizzou still has a lot of young and up-and-coming defensive ends. Again, Williams Nwaneri, there were other guys ahead of him that were freshmen this year, even. So I'm not fretting too much over this. And look, Williams Nwaneri is no Dylan Stewart. He's not Dylan Stewart from South Carolina, where he was a freshman All-American, and apparently he's getting paid $1 million and a half according to On3 to stay at South Carolina. But he's probably more worth it. You know, he actually did something this year. Williams Nwaneri didn't really do anything. So if he wants to go in the portal and someone wants to pay him based off one sack and a couple of tackles in garbage time, then sure, by all means. But as a Mizzou fan, I'm not really taking this too hard. It sucks to lose a 5-star kid. I had a lot of optimism that he would develop into a really good player. But this is just kind of how it goes, man. Sometimes the portal will give. Sometimes the portal will take away. And today it is taking away with Williams Nwaneri. But I'll tell you this as well. If Williams Nwaneri is the biggest name to enter the portal for Mizzou, I'm completely fine with that. There are other freshmen from Williams Nwaneri's signing class that are more important to Mizzou's future right now. Kawan Lacey, the running back, being one of them. Those are the guys that you want to keep. The ones that showed that they have potentials to be a star moving forward, maybe as soon as next year. So, yeah, it sucks. You want the local kid to work out. You wanted him to stay around and see if he could develop into an elite defensive player, but it is what it is. Mizzou is going to replace him, and they're going to be fine. I don't even know if he would have done anything next year, but now this kind of frees up the roster spot and probably some NIL money to go out there and find a guy in the portal that actually did produce last year. A guy that I look at is Nigel Kelly, transferred from UCF, or he's in the transfer portal. Had 5.5 sacks for UCF last year. Mizzou targeted him in the portal last year, and there's already a relationship there, so I'm not fretting. If you can go out and get a guy like that that's actually going to help you next year in exchange for Williams Nwaneri, awesome, cool. I'm all for that. Right now, all Williams Nwaneri has to his name is that 5-star high school ranking. But he was always a super raw prospect that was going to be a project that was going to take some development. And if he's deciding that he deserves a raise off of what he did last year, then I wouldn't waste your time as a coach. You know, if I'm Eli Drinkwitz, and Drinkwitz has to look at it again and say, is it worth it to pay Williams Nwaneri, like a highest paid player on our team, to be defensive end 5 or 6? And I think Mizzou probably came to the conclusion before Williams Nwaneri entered the portal that they weren't going to do that. And maybe they even encouraged him to look around. So those are my thoughts on Williams Nwaneri entering the transfer portal. But this was definitely big news that I wanted to come on here and talk about real quick with you guys, because I know everyone's kind of freaking out. But I'll just say, to cap it off, that this one is going to mean a lot more on social media than it ever does on the field. Because Williams Nwaneri didn't do that much on the field, but we know just how volatile his recruitment was. So those are my thoughts on Williams Nwaneri entering the NCAA transfer portal. Life will go on. Next season is still going to happen, and Mizzou is going to field a team. So, yeah, and there's a lot of players visiting right now in the transfer portal that I'm way more excited about than Williams Nwaneri. So there you guys have it. Want to hear from you guys down in the comments below what your thoughts are. But with all that being said, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Mizzou fans can find this. And make sure you check out my work on showmefootball.com for more. And I'll see you all in the next one. MIZ!